All right, so this is the second house again, and this is Saturn in the second house. It's somebody who values structure, discipline, and they sacrifice everything so they can go to work and build a life. So they can build a life. What do I mean by that? I mean, they make sure they got their finances in order. They make sure they have a job that they can continually go to, you know, learn things, become better, so that they can then manage to, they can climb the ladder and become the best in their field type shit. Because these people are career oriented as well. You know, people who have Saturn energy like that. It's in the second house. They actually value that part of themselves. I'm disciplined. I am one who, stays the course. I'm one who can initiate action in other people, practical action in other people. If they're not doing their job right, I'm going to get in their ass and say, hey, you ain't doing this right. I'm one who holds people and myself to high standards. I'm one who does value money and things. Um, and that might come at a cost, like, time away from family, time away from, um, you know, just any kind of like real fun in life. But the reward is having more things, and also knowing that you were able to accomplish those goals, and you had what other people didn't have, which was, like I said, that discipline, and you were able to, really focus on you and do that and build something, build a life for yourself. So, Aries, Saturn in the second house, this person is goal oriented. They see what they want to build and they go for it. They want to see that shit happen, right? But this person might be not at ease sometimes. And it's because they ain't having, like, it is not as, like, their journey towards getting what they need to get. Or, when they, go to work, they might not like the job they work at. They understand what it's leading towards. But it's like, that bugs them a lot. Oh, I don't like my coworkers, or I go to a job I don't like. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's, I have people, or I have something I want to build. I want to live in this kind of house. I want to own this type of business, or I want to own this type of thing. And then people might not get behind what they're trying to build. So then they're upset and they get out of sorts. So then this person then could seem, you know, not the best financially at keeping their money. Um, Not the best at sticking to what they got. They're looking for other people to also see what they got going on. And like with that, they can, build something. They can build a house. They can build, like their kind of house. The one they want to have. The fucking business they want to create, or the career they want to have. They kind of didn't know like all the like hard work that was gonna come, like go into that, going into it. So then they were like, met with, some discomfort, and they didn't like that. So they kind of like get out of sorts. They looked and seek for like, you know, I'm going through this as I'm doing this, so they kind of fuck around a little bit. But they still, achieve their goals and other things because, people hold them accountable and they say, well, didn't you say you wanted to do this? Didn't you want to have this kind of business? Didn't you want to go down this career path, and other things? But you're like getting mad about this and that. So they'll be met with those type of people who come around and do that and like enlighten them to what they're messing up on, get them back on the right track. Now the next person is Taurus, Saturn in the second house. This person is a person that doesn't lack structure, but is more patient about what things are going to be. So they understand that it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and that the things other people have, it ain't going to be like that for them. It's going to be building things up piece by piece. And with time, we see the progress we made. And with time, this is, a patient moving person. So this person who has Saturn and Taurus right in the second house, they value that part of themselves. So like they're going about doing their thing, right? I have a career. They might stay at the same level of, a job for a while, kind of getting a feel for like what they like actually want to do. They might, bounce around. Or they might go through a period of time where they don't have a job and they're trying to like figure out what kind of career suits them, suits their needs. Do I feel like I want to get up in the morning and go to work and I feel like it's like it's work, but it's like something I can get excited for some days, because this person don't mind, being helpful, you know, to like, people in society and having a job and making money for themselves. This person does, um, you know, they have structure, but they're not so aggressive about it. They might not like let people know what they, want to do, what their ultimate objective is, out of maybe them not thinking they don't understand, or maybe they don't know what they're actually like, what they ultimately are trying to accomplish yet. It takes time because like they want, for them, they want what they want. They want a better life. They want money. They want a house. They want, and they'll have that too because they stick to it. They get jobs. They learn from their jobs, and then like from there they figure something out. Because these people aren't stupid. That have Saturn and Taurus. I actually have Saturn and Taurus myself, but not in the second house. They value their determination. They value their, okay, I don't need to have that job. So, okay, I can make a lot of money there, but guess what? I know because I've had other jobs, I'm just going to go to this job and like, I'm not going to give it my all. Like, I'm not going to do that to a business. Like, why am I going to go in there and work and do that when I don't need to? When I could find another job that's more suited to me, and I'm actually going in there and giving it, my all, and then, making money. I don't want them to have to fucking fire me. That's a waste of their time and my time. So I'm not doing that. That's the type of thinking these people have. And they understand that other people have things that they want, and sometimes they don't. And it's hard, and they, really, they kind of hate people a little bit, or they just like, they don't like it. They're like, damn. But over time, they get theirs, and they make it big too. If that's what they want, and they stick to what they gotta do, and they do. 'Cause that's this type of person. Now the next person is Gemini Saturn in the second house. Gemini Saturn in the second house. This person likes to talk and make plans with other people. They like to find people who are smart like them and build up with them. You know, together we can come up, but we have to like understand our roles in like, doing this. We can all go get jobs. We'll put money towards this. We'll start like a podcast. We'll start a business. We'll start a, we'll all put money into these type of investments. Once we hit a certain amount, you know, we'll all put money in savings and they can do that for themselves as well. Even if they're like not a like wind chimer or an extrovert that needs people around, right? So like somebody who has like water, earth, right? And they are like more, I want to do this myself, or I don't really need somebody like that. I can do this shit myself, right? They have a way of making it work, um, like a plan for themselves. So like I'm gonna stack my money up this way. I'm gonna talk, my way to the top. I'm gonna make sure I know like the most about said business I work for, or um, said career path I'm trying to get on. And then people are going to end up coming to me for advice because I actually like took the time to like read different books and other things and actually like know the ins and outs of this shit. I'm actually the one now teaching people how to like do certain things with like in said career field and other things. I'm the one who like gives PowerPoint presentations and other things, and I go to like talk to people a lot because I'm a good speaker and other things, and I get my point across, right? And I don't mind doing that. These type of people. So they value their communication skills, and that's ultimately what takes them to the top in like said career path or job occupation fields and like um and that's what they value about themselves. And that's ultimately how they like survive. And they, like I said, they don't like talking to just anyone because again, this is them trying to build their life up. So they're trying to find smart people who are like-minded as they are. Now the next person is Saturn. Somebody got Saturn and Cancer in the second house. Now this person can be very, not about work per se. They understand the importance of work, but they rather, you know, have fun, get to know people. They like to, build a family, but they're like so focused on shit like that, building a family, creating these deeper connections with other people, that becomes like what their life's about. So what does this mean? They don't care about money. They don't care about, like, they understand that's what they need to do. Sometimes they sacrifice that and they go through life. And it's almost as if these people aren't stable. Like, this is not somebody I can come to for any kind of any advice on, like, not like fun shit, but like, if I'm in a business, do I want to put my money here? Do I want to put my money here? These people don't know shit like that. These people don't even like the concept of and it ain't that they don't like helping people out. That's not the thing. They actually do like helping people out. They don't like, because like they go deep into things and they understand like, oh well, um I'll just end up being some like, you know I won't end up being anybody who's really about their business. I won't be the like best person in that said career field. I won't be, you know the guy. I'm just the support person. I'm just another worker bee. That's how they see this shit. And then the people who have that in them, like the earth signs and the wind signs, even they are like, it's like almost like they dread going to work. They dread, doing that. They rather not be at work all the time. They don't see I don't want to say they don't see the value in going to work and building something, but they rather do that with people that they care about, if you understand. Like, I'd rather work side by side with my husband, side by side with my brother, with my best friend, and us like build something up together. But they're not really concerned with all the process and everything that has to go into that. They're just like, I'm glad that I'm working with so and so. I really want to work with so and so. They have those kind of intense emotions towards things. And like sometimes you gotta go to work even when, and like just know that, that money's coming, or that, next position you're working for is coming. It's it's not like, you know but like these people are creative too, so they can figure something out like that. Like maybe they're in a relationship and they're the one who doesn't go to work. They take care of like the house, and they take care of the person who's going to work. Oh, I'm there for you after work. I got food for you. I got this for you. Let's go do this. Let's go, have fun doing this. They end up being that type of person. I wouldn't say this person has like their money sense right, but they're a good person for helping somebody who does have money senses right, and does have, those type of ambitions to be the best, have, who is going towards work. Um, you know, they kind of value like the deeper connections they make at the workplace. So maybe this person is a workaholic, and they can go to work, right? They are ones who, you know, they'll bring shit in for other people. Every once in a while, like let's say it's Halloween, they're the types of people who will, oh, I brought cupcakes for people. This is a good day. You know, let's make it. Let's keep doing our thing. You know, I want to be, a support. I want to be somebody who is kind of remembered at work, or people know that I'm there. I'm not the best worker, but I'm somebody who I kind of understand that other people at work don't like to be there. We rather be out having fun, living life. Basically, they're not the best. Like doing their job. You know, getting that money, doing that. They want to see that with other people because they know that that's what's important to them, and they will help those people out the best they can. So they value their like supportive role, essentially. Um, and that's what they need to do. They need to find somebody who don't mind them being around when they're not working, the other person, and then they can, like I said, be a great supportive role to that person. Um, Now the next person is Leo and Saturn. This person has a vision, a specific vision, and they like to make things come together. I'm trying to build this kind of thing. I um, I want to have these specific type of people around me. So when we, build this business, this um, we put money together to make this house, make our life come together how we want to. Finances right, you know. And it ain't just our finances being right. It's right to the point where we can like spend mad money and get all kind of extra stuff. Like they're more concerned about the fun stuff, um, and like they'll keep people around who they deem worthy of, like they see the vision like they do. Now, where shit goes south with this person is they have too many, or they might have people and they're focused too much on like, let's have fun. Let's, we can spend money towards, fucking around or whatever. And then there might be a person in their group who's like, well, maybe we can't. Maybe this week we shouldn't go out to drink on Friday. We should put our money back. And then there could be disagreement because this person who has Leo and Saturn is very dictator kind of thinking, or they dictate where money goes and other things. If he wants to spend, he or she wants to spend it, we gotta spend it. To hell with that. We'll still make it happen. We gotta have fun as we're doing this. You know, we don't have to like forego all fun. To like make our career and be the best in our career, or be the best in you know making money, or manifesting what we want to. We can still have fun. you know but sometimes this person might you know get too lost in that they end up don't saving, and then they don't have anything, and then the people around them are like, they start questioning them, and they don't like being questioned. Like, you're questioning my vision of where we're trying to build towards. What the fuck? But then they're also like the one who's like spending money when they shouldn't be spending money, and not putting shit back, and doing things like that. you know they're kind of blaming their fucking people who they have around. And that's how shit falls apart for them, because they're doing shit like that. They're trying to like dictate shit to everybody else. And as they're trying to dictate shit to everybody else, it's like they don't have their shit together. They're the ones telling them, you know, we gotta, we can still spend money, and then this person ends up spending too much. And then like we have no savings, we have no bread to work with towards like actually building, because building means saving, not spending. And that's like not what this person is good for. Like they see what they want, you know, and they kind of, they know they're gonna get it eventually. They don't know how and other stuff, but like if you ain't saving money, or you ain't listening to the people who are telling you to like hold back on like shit like that right now, and like later we can do that once we have said things, because like the people they have around, they have around for a reason, and like they know that they have these people around for like said reasons. Like, I know you're smarter than me as far as like this goes. Financial literacy, um how who to talk to get us the um like to promote ourselves and other things, as a business, or as a individual, or whatever. you know this person has a kind of like pride in themselves that's kind of, it shoots in the foot sometimes. Like, I know this is gonna happen. Even if we spend all of our money now, we'll still be, and that's not a good look. In the ways of like, you're trying to build something, and it's kind of going against that. It's great that you have that like confidence, and like you see that coming to fruition, but like it don't match up. Because like when you're building something, like it's saving and it's sacrifice, and it's it's not always fun, and this person don't like that. But they value their vision, and they always see it, even when like they don't have any money, and everybody else is like, hey man, what the fuck, we were supposed to save it, and they're still saying, nope, we're still gonna make it happen. We're still gonna have that house, we're still gonna have that, and that's the good thing about them. But it's like, sometimes it's like it leads to like conflict, and like you trying to not have as much conflict when you're trying to build something, right? You're trying to focus towards building something. you know. You know, it already kind of sucks, so like don't make it suck more, you know, that kind of thing. The next person is Saturn in Virgo in the second house. Saturn, Virgo in the second house. This person, you know, they love structure, to the point um, man, they just have a certain thing they do every day. Every day is the same thing. And it's not just like consistency or anything like that. It's like, you know, more than that. It's like, I can do better. You know, I can take criticism and give criticism. So I wake up at 9 o'clock every day. I drink a cup of water at specifically like 9:05. I get in my car or I eat breakfast at 9:30. I drive to work. I get to work at 10. You know, I'm at work. I make sure I, you know, do my job. I don't like miss a beat, whatever the fuck kind of job you do. Um, and you know, I come home. I like, I go to the gym. I do this specific weights, this specific amount of reps and sets. And it's like that always. And then, you know, if I find myself needing to improve, I don't mind getting criticism from other people who I deem are actually better than me. But typically, this person is the one who is better than everybody else as far as like keeping structure and a type of like discipline, um, very methodical in how they do things. And it's like, if it ain't this way, it won't work. What I'm saying here is they planned everything out in their head, and like to the T, I'm gonna get this job, work this amount of years at this job, get promoted to this position. Once at this position, I'll start, you know, now that I have more money, I'll put money into savings, more money into savings, or whatever their plan is, right? You know, once I'm, you know, accumulated this amount of income, I'm like, you know, at six figures or like whatever, I'm now putting things into, you know, this specific amount of money into this and that. You know, everything's very laid out with this person, is what I'm basically trying to get at. And they don't got time for other people fucking with that. You know, people who ain't as smart as them, or people trying to like tell them to bring their standards down. You know, they won't do that. I can't do that because I need to be an example for myself. Really, it's for myself. So I know that I'm taken care of. I can't do that because if I fuck around once, then like everything's like, you know, to them it's like everything goes to shit. These people be like that when they're trying to like build something and other things, right? They're trying to build their life up, or they're trying to, you know, maintain structure in their life. They do that. They say, I don't fuck around with these type of people, and I only need these kind of people. And when they're like not doing what they need to do, the people I like want to associate with, I might have to dig in their ass and tell them, hey man, I know that you're doing this and that, but I thought, you know, I think you can improve here, or you know, there, you know, and you'll let them know exactly what they can improve upon, you know, and then you also know that they'll do that in return, and you don't mind that, you know. Now you might get on yourself a little bit for like even having to get criticized by somebody else, but ultimately you don't see anything wrong with it. You say, it's just gonna make me better. And then you might not, you may like, if you find yourself being the one criticized and you the one who needs to change, you're willing to, you know, change and do better, and then you implement what somebody else like, you know, helped you do. Like, you maybe you're saving money a little bit wrong, and you could be saving money a different way, and now making more money. So then you took that advice and then you started implementing what that person said. And it's not no kind of like, you know, anything wrong with that. You see the positives in it, but you're kind of like, damn, I kind of missed that, you know. I shouldn't have missed that, you know, as you're a person who like is more, you know, detail oriented and analytical about shit like that. Now, let's say you're not a person who's like very smart. Um, like you might be of water signage or fire signs, right? So this person is still smart when they're trying to build something up, they don't fuck like you don't fuck around. So you can, you know, look at things and be like, okay, you can catch yourself and be like, okay, well, I might be, you know, having fun with my friends or um, delving deep into this other stuff, but there's still a part of you that's like, damn, you can sit back and be like, do I have my shit together? And then you look back and you're like, okay, you know, am I is my life all right? Yeah, you know, is my relationship like my work and my money good? You know, am I about to get fired from work because you know I'm lacking in things? If that's the case, I'll stop. You know, playing games. I'll like you know cut people off and go back to work. You know, because like that's the Saturn sign. You just know. You know, I want to be sitting. You know, right. I don't want to be. You know, insecure about any of that or you know lose myself as I'm trying to build something up. Now the next person is Libra and Saturn in the second house. Now this person does extra work, so they'll make sure that they're taken care of, make sure that they're doing everything right. I got a job, I go to work, I know that my neighbor's doing good, they're going to work. I might even like, you know, do things in the community outside of work. Like I'm a volunteer doing something. You know, and this is the person who's like doing the most with this sign, right? This is Saturn in Libra, right? I'm a, you know, I go to work at this company, but then after work, I am like a volunteer firefighter or something like that. And then I also ask people every once in a while, hey, how you doing? Is kids all right? Is your, you know, job doing good? And like that kind of gives you a sense of security, and you value that about yourself. You're like, me being a outgoing guy or girl, you know, doing the best at my job, you know, following the rules, letting people know when they're messing up, when they ain't following the rules, you know, maybe that person should get fired. You know, these are the people who like kind of like whisper and tell people things and do like they're just doing the most. You know, and it's just like they just for them it's like I want to go to work and work and then I want to, you know also that my community where I live is cool. Like my environment, I'm good in my environment. That's why I'm like talking to people, letting shit be known about people who slack off at work, or maybe, um, oh, you lost your job, and I know you to be a good person. Okay, well, hey, you know, maybe I can see if you can come work with me at my job where I work at. You know, and this person kind of tries to be that for people and themselves, but they make sure that they have themselves taken care of. And before they try to do that, and they typically do, you know, they might not even be like the best worker, but they know like rules and regulations and like all the like paper side of things. You know, they read every single like packet that's given to them. They read every single everything, and they know all of that stuff. And they're the guy that knows that stuff, or the female that knows that stuff. And people come to them with questions, and they don't mind being the one to like let them know. You know, and again, and this is an exaltation point. So like I said, they like to make sure other people are doing all right. So they'll ask questions and other things to people. People might not even want them around, but they're like, hey, so and so, are you all right? Or is your um, job searching going well? Is your this going well? They kind of, you know, I like to say they peck at people a little bit, but it's like for their own security in their mind. They're saying, okay, I might be all right, but if my neighbor ain't right, then I'm not all right. And that is how these people operate. I don't want um, criminals in my neighborhood. Um, I don't want, or maybe I don't want these type of people in my neighborhood. I'll make sure that these people get out of my neighborhood. I'll settle this as, swiftly and, as calmly as possible, whatever that might mean. I have to talk to this person or that person. I don't give a I will make sure that I feel safe where I'm at and that other people do too. That's why this is an exaltation point in Saturn. They're kind of doing too much talking and, you know, and it's a good thing that they want to do this, by the way. Just sometimes from like the other side, it looks like you're doing too much and you're like, driving yourself up a wall, but these people don't see it that way. Um, so they value their like sense of justice, sense of like keeping peace in their area. And that's what these people like. If I have friends, make sure you have a job, make sure doing what you got to do. If you need help, learning something, I'm here for you. There's kind of like no excuse for you not to have your shit together if you're my friend, somebody who's like this. There's always something that I can do for you, or you can, seek out for yourself and do, and they kind of hold people to a higher standard as well. Um, it's a good thing, and it's also, it can seem like somebody's doing too much sometimes, though, if you ask me. But that's just how these type of people are and shit. Saturn and Libras. That's older people, by the way. Um, they like don't play games, but they also like try not to, um, like not let. They try to let there be an option for them, like somebody to get better. Like, so you're not, things ain't working out for you, but you can do this and you can go find these resources and do this. Or I can, if like said relationship with, this person, like, this person who has Libra and Saturn, I can get you a job here so you have that work for you. And that's going to give me, as that person, a sense of security because I know that people where I live at are also doing well. So I'm doing well. I'm doing even better now knowing that. So the next person is Saturn in Scorpio in the second house. This person values seeking deep connections. That is not always a good thing unless you find somebody who doesn't mind your fun side, your um, more, uh, I'll say, powerful side, and you two together can build a life together. That's what you need to, you value that and you need to like find that for real. It's not just about, because like you as a person would be more, you could let shit get really bad for yourself as far as, that goes. But you don't really Well, I ain't gonna speak for because this is a Saturn sign. Um, After all, when things go south and let's say you're at work and you've been working for a while and you feel as though um you ain't you're due for a promotion or you due for more pay, you're gonna like have that on your mind at all times, and it's like you might not even like lash out right away. You might be like just going to work, going through the motions, and you're like, damn, I hate this fucking job. Why the fuck am I still here? Like, I understand I'm here for the money, but what the, like, when am I gonna even, like, because, like, I don't even feel like doing this, you know? You gotta kind of turn that creative energy on and find somebody who, like, sees what you're trying to accomplish. Like, you have a goal in mind, and it's very intense, and it is, you know? Towards building something. I want to build this kind of life for myself. Um, you want people around who see things like it's just as important to them as it is to you. You know what I mean? And that's hard to find. It is. It actually is hard to find because you need them to be there doing what they got to do and also help having your back even when you don't. Like they gotta be there to like motivate you, not motivate you, not motivate you, not motivate you. Let me not say that, but be there to like keep you on track, because you are motivated, driven, but sometimes you can get out of sorts, upset when people don't see your work ethic or see or understand all the like suffering you might be going through as you're building this, so make sure you have a person, a companion around who is like, understanding or caring, sees or really um, understands what you're driving towards and striving towards. You know, we might, have a relationship that's deep and other things, but we also, it's deeper than, other people think, that type of thing. We're building something for each other. It's for me, but it's also for them. I am the one who is like, in control, but you need somebody there to just keep you on track with like as far as money goes, because like sometimes you can get out of sorts and like you forget why you're doing what you're doing. You let your emotions then take control of you, and then shit can fall apart. You might lash out at your boss. Um you might like start forgetting about the money and shit because like it don't matter as much anymore. You just want to be with said people that you are deeply connected to. But you have it in you to like make and create the life you want. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that sometimes that shit can get you down when it's like bad times and it's like just you doing it. You can feel like the world's against you and shit, that type of thing, and you like start to hate people more when you know don't even have to do all that. Those people don't matter. you know it's you building something for yourself. And if you're like one of those type of people, more of a loner, it's like those people don't matter. Just keep doing what you got to do to make that money. Stay consistent like you can, because this is fixed water. You have the ability to stay consistent. Just don't let people like shake you too much, like to the point where you lose your ass. You lose like your money and everything else. They force you, or they send you into a frenzy, and then you do something that you know might regret. As far as like you're building something, you don't want it to like fall apart. Business, you know, your house, all kinds of things. Um, but you value that drive that you have, and you want people to see that. You want somebody, just somebody who sees shit the same way as you. Sees what you're trying to accomplish, and then can stay with you through that good or bad times, and it's still there. Um, Now the next person is Sagittarius Saturn in the second house. So this person values not money, but they value their friends and the fun times they can have with them, the experiences they want to have and enjoy. So this person might not be thinking about having a career like everybody else in the like traditional sense. Whatever. I'm gonna go to school for become a lawyer or become a doctor or become a this or that. No, they want to be a little more adventurous. They want to do other things. They want to have fun more. They get creative about what they want to do. So, like, if they don't want to go to work like other people, they're going to find a way to have people see things their way. And they will work too. But at the same time, these people do like to have fun. Saturn and Sagittarius, they'll be about their shit. They see what they're trying to accomplish. Right now, I want to, you know, run around and try different things. Sometimes that's not stable though, because guess what? You're doing so much stuff that you don't have that steady money coming in. And like to this person, money might not be everything. And that could get them like out of like sorts. What I mean by that is, when they do decide to actually like build something, right? And buckle down and do that, they still have that in them to like want to spend money. You know, you know, things are kind of drab right now. Things are kind of boring. I'm not liking this. Let me call my friends and do some things. Just hang out and have some fun. If I have to spend a bit more money, I don't care. You know, but again, when you're trying to build something, you gotta save money and not spend it. Um, they value like time with people and like those fun experiences they can have. So they might not have like one job that they do. They might be a person that had this kind of job, been fired from all kind of things. But this person is like, they also value their experiences. So they have been fired from all kind of jobs and other things, but they learn something from every time they're fired. Something about themselves, something about the jobs that they've held and shit in life. So then they, know how to move forward. And then like eventually they do get on their shit and they do. And it's like they find a career that's good for them. It keeps them, it's like good enough to suit their every need. And then they just like fall in love with it. And then they become like, a person that's like kind of, I don't want to say an expert. They're like a person that people want to come to for advice on said things. So this person might want to become like they've had all kind of jobs, but then they become like not a surgeon, not a doctor, not a lawyer, not a chef. They become like a yoga instructor, and that's what they do. But they become like the best at it. They like make it exciting for other people, and like they become that type of person. You know, yeah, I didn't have it figured out. I was doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. But now that I've found what like I can like get excited for, go to work, love doing it. You know, I like, it gets me up in the morning. I'm like excited to do that shit. I'd rather not do anything else but this kind of work. And it's like, for a while, people might see them as a loser. Certain people who are more like, it's not about the having fun. And because like Saturn is not a planet that's about having fun. It's about, s- putting shit back, setting limitations for yourself, staying disciplined, not doing first thing that comes to your mind. Excitement, it's not about that. But it takes you some time, but you find it. And when you find it, that's when, your vision finally happens, you know. And you always know, like that's the thing about this person too. They stay positive through the shit, I might not have money now. But one day I'll find that job, that niche that I'm good at, and I'll like, capitalize on it. And I'll just, I'll feel great. I'll feel better than I do right now. Yeah. The next person is Capricorn in Saturn in the second house. So this person definitely does have this shit together, typically. So this person will go to work, um, not cry. They see, the work as like, I go to work, I do what I have to do. I climb the ladder. If I see people, at work who are not doing their job, I don't need that in the environment. Like we don't want people at work, right, who don't want to like, do their job and, make the money, don't take their job seriously. We don't want that here. I see that shit, I nip it in the bud right then. That's when I get like active towards like other people in the workplace, and like people respect you for that. They're like, you're keeping shit in order, you're keeping shit together, you're disciplined. And that's what gets them up the ladder quicker, because they're able to like lock in and do that, whereas other people, they're kind of just, they ain't like goal oriented like that, you know ambition driven like that. you know this person is, not like that. They're like, you know, I see something in the workplace that's wrong, I'm gonna let them know. I don't like being the one who necessarily has to speak, but I'll speak when I need to. Like if I need to, I will. And it's like you gotta like follow that, because I know what I'm doing. Because this person does know what they're doing if they took a career path and they know what they need to do, to climb the ladder and everything else, and they typically do. And then some people, who have displacement, they find themselves, still the same way. Let's say they have water, fire signage, and they have displacement. They're still a go-getter. They still know that they gotta make that bag somehow. They're gonna like be about that shit. What do I have to do to make the money? What do I have to do? How do I have to save my money so I can make this business grow? What do I have to do to invest so I can make my money multiply? You know, that type of thing. They have those type of thoughts in their mind. Because like, it's all right that, or, that we have to sacrifice now, but in the future, we'll have all kind of shit. You know, we, care about, people who like want to also do for themselves. Like, we value hard work. Value work ethic. We value um, discipline. Other people who are like that will be, seen in high regard in your eyes. People who are not like that won't be. You won't be willing to go out of your way for somebody like that. And you're a person who might do that, just out of, because like you have your shit together by now. Like you have your career set, it's all good. You're like the best, you're known, and or maybe you're not known, but you're like, hey, that's the key there. That you're taken care of. You got your money right. everything else, and it's like a part of your life now, and you're just like doing it. I go to work at this time. I, you know, do this. I do that. I make sure my people under me are doing right. You know, I might have to like kick somebody in the ass who I like deem like worthy more because I see them as having potential, to like do better just like I did. They kind of have a like almost a parental type of energy about them. These people, that's why they call Saturn energy daddy energy. These people do that. They'll ride your ass, but it's for a good reason, typically. But not all the time. Like if they ain't doing that to you, they probably don't see anything about you. Like I don't see any type of like potential there, or you know, they just don't, got time for that. We want people who want to work. I want people who want to build something. These people are builders. They're not builders. Um, like even if they're water signs and other things, they'll do the best they can to like get their point across. Because water signs can get a point across. In a they can make it hit harder, is what I'm trying to say. They have a way of like convincing people, and like they capitalize on shit like that, and then they move like that. And then fire signs kind of do similarly. They get loud. Their energy that they present is so like damn, it's motivating almost, and it's like damn, I gotta do this. This guy believes in me. Why don't I believe in myself? Other things. This person has that type of way about them. It's about working hard, making that money, being a career person before anything else, having my shit together. I need to be that person that has my shit together at all times because I am like their dad. They kind of believe that shit too. Some of them, some of them just, I just need to have my, you know, money right. That's it. You know, and then they make sure that above anything else, I'm taken care of there, and nothing else really matters. That's everything else is secondary. Um, Now the next person is Aquarius, and Saturn in the second house. Aquarius, Saturn in the second house. This person, they think about how they're gonna make money, and then they implement what they're thinking about. They try to think outside the box. They try to, make networking a thing. They try to talk. They talk their way into, business. They talk their way into, you know, better positions by knowing more than other people. Like, cause this is a wind chimer. Like, well, they become wind chimers when they like on their shit. They know how to like talk to people to like get up the ladder. They know what to research to like build and grow money quickly. You know, they don't mind, letting other people know information. These people are communicators when it comes to building themselves up. They're not gonna be one who just talks every once in a while. They're gonna be talking a lot. They'll be talking to these people about this, these people about that. Uh, and like, it's not just anyone. Like, that's not what I'm saying. They talk to this person about investment. They talk to this person about, you know, taking care of their body, and how can I do to do that. They talk to this person about, how can I be a better, um, at all kinds of things, presenting myself on the internet, promotions and all kinds of things. They think about all of it, and then they like talk to like, you know, the smartest people or the best people in whatever, who they can, get their point across to, and then they, capitalize on it to conversation. Sometimes it's like, you talk to the right people when you get to the right places. It's like these people who do shit like that. um, and they watch trends too. And they like, capitalize on that. I see where the rich are putting their money. I see where people ain't really like, you know, people aren't really seeing this type of thing, you know, but I seen it and I can like enlighten people to what I see. And then they start thinking and they're like, well, we need this guy or this girl because they know or they seen something we didn't see. They caught on to something we didn't catch on to. Now they're valuable to a business or, whatever. Um, that's what those people do when they're on their shit. And when they ain't, they get, or when they're not, the best at, making money or whatever, they still do make money because they have people. They still know how to talk to people and move up the ladder. They make sure they know what they're talking about and they do it. Now the last person is Pisces, Saturn in the second house. Now this person, they they care about people. They capitalize on kind of coming in and being I like to say they like to come in and try to be a savior of sorts. They try to do shit like that. They know where people are, lacking. They know what people, how they feel when they suffer. And when they know how people feel when they're good, they feel other people's energy, right? But let's say they ain't a Pisces or a water sign, right? And they're like fire, wind, or earth, right? This person still is creative about how they're gonna make money. I don't have to do things like the traditional way, get a job and work up the ladder and all that other shit, right? I'm going to, because like money don't matter to this person as much. This person don't care about money. They care about deeper connections with people, and like that's what gives them the you know better feeling. I made somebody's day better. That makes me feel good because I was able to use my intuition and feel them out and know that they were going through something and I can take that negative emotion and turn it into something good. Me seeing somebody else that I've done that to succeed, that is enough for me. you know Now I have to like make sure my money's right and everything else, but I'm like, this person is not about money. They're about, their security comes from helping others out and like knowing that their energy is more positive from it. Knowing that I've brought something of value to somebody else. You know, the money comes, that's cool. Because it does come to these people, but it's like not something that they like dwell on too much. They know it's important, and they know that that's life. But at the same time, it's like I know what person. You know, I'm not gonna. The money's gonna flow how it flows. It's like I'm not gonna stress about money at all. I'm not gonna let that be the whole driving force. I'm trying to connect with people. They put their energy towards that, and through that, these people like just they become rich in their own way, or they find a job that where they can help people, where they can well, really where they can benefit for themselves, and they can feel good within their own skin about what they're doing. you know they don't want to also have a job where there just, going through the motions and other things. They'll do that. But then if they're a person doing that, they're gonna make sure that that money goes towards, whatever creative ideas or thoughts they have. I wanted to create a YouTube channel. I wanted to create a podcast. I wanted to create a business that was, I wanted to be an artist. So I do that on the side, and eventually they take that and do that. They get that to take off. They sacrifice too, you know. But the key with this person is, because this is water, they don't care about money. Like when I say they don't care about money, they don't. They care about the people they're trying to impact more, like changing them to be like better people in their lives and other things. And it's not about the dollar bills. That's important, but it's kind of secondary to this person. But they have opportunities because they're that kind of person. They like don't, you know, they understand that money's a thing and it's something that makes, you know, you need that to build. But they rather put their efforts towards making people feel better, making people see them as valuable people in that kind of way. You have a way of, making people feel good, or getting your point across real well. We'll now give you a job doing this, because the way they do it is just like amazing. I don't know how to describe it. It's just that's how these people are. And I wouldn't say they're the most well financially off, but it's like they kind of don't care. And now let's say this person is one who's more like an earth sign or a wind sign and understands the importance of work a little more, and like doesn't really, they like to know and learn things, uh, not like about the work they do, and so they can make more money, and so they can, know what they're talking about. They make sure they delve deep into that stuff, and they're the best at, getting their points across to people and other things. So then they, even if they ain't like the best at their career field or whatever, they're still like, they may be seen as, how to present themselves in a way. So with that, that is Saturn in the second house for all the signs. Now we're gonna start on Wednesday talking about the third house. But be cool on the corner.